This is the Sister Talk podcast, and I'm your host, Gold Chain Diva. If you tune into the podcast on a regular basis, you already know who I am. Y'all know I'm just a sister who has a lot to talk about. And since it's been a couple of weeks since our last episode, y'all already know I got a lot of things to talk about. Now, what's been going on with your sister, okay? Listen, it's been 3 weeks since we had our last episode. And on the last episode, I let y'all know that I had started dating in the Queen City. So y'all probably asking, T, how has it been going? Listen, how has it been going? Listen, we'll get to that in a minute. But before I get to that, I want to tell y'all that I'm just so happy. Listen, I took a staycation because, you know, where I live now is the vacation. So people are coming to visit me to have a vacation. So I decided to take off, I want to say about 9 days, 10 days that my sister was here. She came to visit and we had our girls trip 2025. Okay, so if y'all follow me on social media, listen, y'all already know that we had a ball, okay? Listen, we did everything that you can imagine. We made sure we hit the rooftop vibes. We hit the beach. We went to Myrtle Beach. We went to a trail ride. Listen, I put my boots to the ground, okay? I had my little fan. Listen, hold up. I'm going to get my fan so I can show y'all. Hold on. Listen, I had to grab my fan for y'all one time for the one time. Listen, so y'all know that y'all good sis, you know, was out there in real life making it do what it do. Okay? Listen. Look, we might make this an actual prop for the show going forward. Look, listen, I be having too much fun with the fan, okay? Listen, that's why your girl be out there putting the boots to the ground and be messing up, because once I get to putting that fan in there, listen, it's all bets is off. My brain go blank. I just be worried about the fan for real. But yes, listen, we went to the trail ride, okay? And if you know me, you know that I've been looking for the black cowboys my entire life. My entire life, especially ever since I went to Memphis a few years ago. Still looking for the black cowboys. I want to know where they hang out in droves, you know, where they congregate. I want to see a whole bunch of them at one time. But we found the black cowboys. So that was cool. Like I said, we put our boots on the ground. So, you know, my purchase wasn't in vain. I definitely, you know, got my money's worth out of my boots and my fan. So we had an amazing time. We did a lot of things. Listen, 9 days is a long time. Your good sis was needing rest and hydration midway through. Rest and hydration. Listen, in this summer heat, if you know anything about North Carolina, you know that you got to stay hydrated. You can't just be outside drinking and think that you ain't going to take a sip of water at any point in the day, because you will end up on the side of the ground. Okay. So we had an amazing time. My sister came out. One of my best friends came out. And we just had an amazing time. Like, I can't complain. I enjoyed them being here. You know, it's always a good time when a piece of home comes to my new home. It just, you know, gives me that extra fire that I need to, you know, keep going out here, especially being out here by myself. One of the other things I want to share with y'all is I am involved in a mentorship program, pretty much, you know, chaperoning youth on a, they're doing like a tour of different like HBCU colleges and African American museums and things of that nature. And so I got to participate in one of those outings this past week. And I just wanted to share with y'all because maybe y'all may or may not know that has been a passion of mine for a very long time, you know, giving back to the youth, being able to share my experiences with them, because I think that at that age, between 13 and 18, they're very impressionable. A lot of times they don't have somebody to talk to about certain things. And I feel like I'm at an age where I'm not too old, but I'm not too young, where they can kind of still relate to me. And so I really wanted to give back to the community. And so I'm just so happy that I've been able to be a part of something like that since I've been here in Charlotte, because that's something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. And so this past week, we went to Greensboro, North Carolina, and we went to the Civil Rights Museum. And then after that, we visited North Carolina A&T. And so, you know, me being new to the South, I mean, obviously, It's a lot to be learned. There's a lot of things that I didn't know, and I'm just glad that I got the opportunity to experience that with some young people. It's always a good time when you can relate to the younger generation and be impressionable, make an impression on them, because that group is also a very hard group to impress. They're not impressed very easily. They kind of just look at you like, okay, but who are you though? Like, who is you? Because, ma'am, like, I don't even know you. Does she even go here? And so at first it was a little like, okay, but like once you get past the whole like, okay, this is who I am, you can trust me, you can open up to me, feel comfortable, and you start relating to them, they open up to you. So it was a really nice experience, just um seeing these kids go from kind of standoffish to, by the end of the trip, like wanting to like interact with me, and finding things in common and wanting to bond with me. And because I don't have any children, like, I love kids, like, Auntie T love the kids, she love the kids. Like, she ain't got none yet, but she love the kids. And so it just warms my heart to be able to pour into the lives of these youth. So I definitely look forward to continuing that journey. So I'll keep y'all posted on what that looks like in my life, because it's definitely a major part of my life, and I'm absolutely looking forward to it. I kind of wanted to get a little transparent with y'all this week, if I may. I want to get a little bit transparent with y'all this week, because I like to share not only my wins with you all. Not only my wins do I like to share. I like to share everything with you all. I like to share, the different struggles that I'm going through, because I'm a firm believer in transparency allows growth and healing on both sides. The person who's being transparent, but also the person who's receiving that transparency. And I wanted to just kind of share, just where I've been in life right now, because I'm on this very unpopular journey right now. Like, and it's like I'm so blown away by God every time I think about it, because I'm just like, I know I'm not where I want to be at in life right now. I know I'm not where I want to be. I'm on a journey, I'm on a path. I got clear instructions on what to do. I know I'm not where I want to be at. I know life doesn't look like what I want it to look like, or what I thought it would look like at this point in life. However, I can honestly really say, like, I really be happy though. Like, like, I just like, how they say, more money, more problems. I believe that, because like right now, I think don't get me wrong, I have everything that I need. I'm not wanting for anything. However, this is like me being in this simplistic space, and not overindulging in anything, has put me in a place of real joy. Like, I'm able to tap in to so many different areas that I had neglected for a very, very long time. And I know I had kind of shared that information with y'all before, because I've been on this journey for a minute now, just kind of figuring out what the next stage in my life is. And one of the things that I struggle with the most, and the reason why I want to share this with y'all, is because we all got 24 hours in a day, right? We all have the same 24 hours in a day. We all got the same 7 days in a week. We all have the same time period. And everybody has choices that they make throughout the way. And a lot of people like look at people such as myself in this position where I don't have any children. It's just me. You kind of just see me being able to live my life and do things as I want to do them. But one of the things that I struggle with the most is having that type of freedom, right? Like, I think a lot of people take for granted, like, your children or your significant other or anything like that, like, kind of grounds you in life. Like, it gives you a reason to do X, Y, and Z every day, because those things have to be done. Well, when it's just me, just relying on me, listen, being the boss is a really hard task, because you have to be disciplined. Like, on those days where I don't feel like it, nothing is holding me accountable to actually still getting up and doing what I need to do. So it's like you don't even realize how much power that is when you have full control over every part of your 24 hours. Like it really shows you who you are and it shows you what you're made of. And so like I'm struggling with that because at the same time, like even though where I am in life right now is something that I prayed for, right? Like I prayed for the day that I can get up and do what I want to do every day. Even though I prayed for that, I struggle with what that looks like to the outside world because realistically it's unconventional. And so a lot of the times I beat myself up because it doesn't look like the 9 to 5 structure. It doesn't look like waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning and jumping straight on a computer and just sitting there all day and burning the midnight oil and all those good things. It doesn't look like that all the time. Like sometimes it looks like waking up at noon. Sometimes it looks like, okay, let me clean my house first. Sometimes it looks like, okay, now literally I've done all these things all day and I'm just now sitting at the computer at 9:30 at night and now I'm up again until 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it looks so unconventional and I have to keep telling myself that because I have the luxury of being able to do it out of order, to not be so hard on myself about how it's happening or how it looks to anybody on the outside because it's not going to look like what they think it should look like. One of the things that I also have been struggling with is fear. I don't know if I've ever talked to you all about fear on here before, but I had a lunch meeting with a young lady this past week, and she was kind of asking me questions about being a woman business owner, things of that nature. And one of the things that she asked prompted me to tell her about my fears. And really, when you think about fear, sometimes you think about the idea of failing, which is, a valid fear. However, I think one of my fears is the fear of actually succeeding. Like it makes you really like, sometimes it's like, I know I have this in me and I know like I got what it takes to make it happen. But I think it's the pressure of like actually one making it happen and like being like, oh my God, like I really knew this could. But then when it does happen, the fear of not being able to sustain it. And so, sometimes fear just comes in, and I just feel like, I just want to let you all know that if you're dealing with fear in your own personal life, one, you have to constantly remind yourself that God did not make us with the spirit of fear. The fear comes from the enemy. Fear comes from the devil trying to steal our joy and steal our destiny. And so at the end of the day, don't lean into that fear. Continue to push forward and do it scared. That's one of the things that I do very often is even if I don't feel 100% confident in it, I'm going to do it until I do. And so that's one of those things where you kind of got to just continue to sharpen your tools and continue to just show up even when it's hard some days, because some days it will be hard. Some days it will be hard and you just got to push through because that's where the rewards are on the other side of your fear. And you just gotta trust in God. Like I'm just on a trusting journey right now, like trusting blindly and what God told me, because we all know that God, he reveals certain things along the way. He doesn't give us every part of his plan right away. We kind of got to go through, point A, point B, point C, to be able to get revelation along the way. And so, just trusting in God and knowing that he is working everything out for your good, and that all points will lead to where you're supposed to be at in life. But your girl just been struggling for real. Like I just definitely been struggling, like feeling like, I'm not going as hard as I could be. And it's so funny because everybody around me is like, girl, you've only been in Charlotte for like 3 months. And realistically, it just feels like it's been so much longer. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I want the results to be what I want them to be and not really realizing that I am making small wins along the way. So I'm gonna just go ahead, take this time for myself and give myself a hand clap, look, pat myself on the back. And just tell myself that I'm doing a great job and continue to run the race, even on the days where it doesn't feel like, I'm moving anywhere. So with that being said, I'm gonna just go ahead and give us a positive affirmation. I might try to do this on every episode, for at least the next couple of episodes to give us some positive affirmations, because I know that if I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with in my life, I know that you all are also dealing with certain things. So my sister, she gave me this beautiful basket of goodies when she was here. And a lot of what she gave me was, just things to kind of help me along the way, push me through my path, and, motivate me, and, just pour positivity in my life on those days where I don't feel as strong as I, could feel. And so I'm just going to pull a random card and give us an affirmation, and just, give us some motivation for this week that we got going. All right, y'all. That's the card we picking. I bounce back stronger every single time. And so what that means to me is, we may experience setbacks in life. Setbacks will come. We will experience valleys along our journey. But, and this is a verse that I think I posted on my Facebook, maybe like last week or something like that. In my weakness is where God's power is perfected. And so, in those valleys where we are down and out, where we're feeling hopeless, where we feel like we're not accomplishing or where we want to be at on our journey, we just got to understand that it's a part of the journey. The valleys are a part of the journey. And if we didn't have those valleys, we wouldn't have anything to teach us and anything to propel us into our future. And so every single time that we have a setback, just know that it's only temporary and we will bounce back every single time. Now, with that being said, because I know y'all about tired of me running my mouth at this point. I know y'all about tired of me running my mouth at this point. It's time, y'all. Okay? Listen, it's time to spill the tea. Okay? As always, get them pinkies up. We gotta stay classy. Okay? Even though we spilling the tea, we gotta give it the extra classiness. Okay? We gotta give it the class. Stay coofed. Now, this week on Spill the Tea, okay, it was a struggle for your girl. It was a struggle trying to figure out what the heck to talk about this week. And y'all know I be having a lot of things to talk about. But this week, for whatever reason, I just could not figure it out. Like, I sat in front of my little notepad that y'all see right here, because your good sis is old school. I figured I'd stop using the laptop because the laptop was more so just a prop. I wasn't even just using that. But nonetheless, I sat in front of this paper and just came up with blanks every single time. But your good sis came up, okay? Listen, it took a minute, but your good sis figured it out. Now, what I want to spill the tea on this week. So I want to say maybe a few episodes ago, we talked about Shannon Sharpe. We talked about the situation that was going on with him and the lawsuit back in April that was filed by a woman that was going by Jane Doe, a $50 million lawsuit, basically where she was suing him for pain and suffering, psychological and emotional distress, mental anguish, embarrassment, and humiliation. This lawsuit came about when Jane Doe said that Unc raped her twice in October 2024 and then again in 2025. She also accused him of repeatedly recording the two having sexual contact without her consent during this 2-year relationship, which began in 2023. The suit also alleged that Unc was physically abusive, choking and hitting Doe, in addition to threatening her life multiple times. Now, if y'all don't remember me reporting on this story a little while ago, I told y'all that Unc was you're a 69 guy. Listen, I told y'all that Unc was into slave play. That's what I told y'all that I was going to call it, because I didn't really know, how to put it so eloquently. Okay. But apparently Unc was out here, getting his role play on and playing and had Shorty playing master. And apparently it got a little carried away. But nonetheless, after all this time, because like I said, this happened back in April, we're now in the end of July. Basically, they have now met a settlement. The lawsuit has been dismissed with prejudice, and based off of a tweet that was put out by the by Jane Doe's lawyer. He basically made a statement that said the Busby law firm filed a complaint in Nevada making several allegations against Shannon Sharpe on behalf of our client, but both sides acknowledged a long-term consensual and tumultuous relationship. After protected and respectful negotiations, they're pleased to announce that we have reached a mutually agreed upon resolution. All matters have been addressed satisfactorily, and the matter is closed. The lawsuit will thus be dismissed with prejudice. And for those of you who don't know what dismissal with prejudice means, it basically means that the court decision is to permanently end the case, preventing the plaintiff from bringing the same claim against the defendant again in the same court. It's a final judgment, meaning the case is closed and cannot be refiled. And so basically it was dismissed with prejudice because they actually agreed upon a settlement. And that settlement is actually, non-disclosed. So we don't know how much they settled for. But nonetheless, there was a amount that they settled on. And I believe that, because I know I raised the concern of, okay, is Unc going to be the next black man that is successful, that they put in the hot seat and try to condemn them like they did Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Sean Combs, P. Diddy. And I feel like because there was a settlement, I believe that there probably was some type of fault at play. And Unc did kind of say that he felt like Shorty was trying to just go for a money grab. So I believe that it must have been some questionable things that this young lady was alleging that might have had some type of proof. And Unc was just like, you know what? This has already gotten out enough. Let me go ahead and try to get in front of it and silence it. And so I believe that, that's why the settlement was had. But, hey, I like I told y'all the last time, I believe that there's a very fine line with consent, and especially consent when it comes to doing all that kinky, that freaky stuff. that questionable activity that they was doing. It could get a little out of hand, especially when it may start off consensual and then somewhere in between you realize you really not with the shits the way that you thought. So I guess it's good that Unc is not going to jail. Unc has not received any charges in this case. However, he is feeling the effects of losing some of his partnerships. He is no longer affiliated with ESPN. They're parting ways with him after he have got under fire for this lawsuit. Basically, he hasn't appeared on the show since April. And which he thought was going to be a temporary situation ended up being a long-term situation when they decided to just go ahead and let him go after they reached a settlement in this case. I don't even know. I don't know how to feel about that, because I feel like Unc, he has been like kind of ramping up with some of the things that's been going on in his life. Like at first it was that audio tape that came out, and then now is this young lady basically saying that there was some questionable things in their sexual relationship. And so I don't blame ESPN for kind of wanting to protect the image of the network, because Unc, freaking ass nigga, you a 69 god. Like his skeletons is falling out the closet at this point. And so I don't blame him for wanting to wash their hands from it. But good thing for him, he does have Club Shay Shay, and he's the sole proprietor of Club Shay Shay. So at the end of the day, he's still going to eat. He's still going to win. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. What do y'all think was going on behind closed doors? Do you think that Unc should have went to jail? Do you think that ESPN should have let him go? Let me know down in the chat. Now, this week, I'm going to do something a little bit differently, okay? And we haven't done one of these in a long time. It's time for a conspiracy top. Okay, listen. The reason why I will put, because I want to put a conspiracy in here real quick. I just want to give y'all the tea because there is a craze going on right now where it's a lot of children that are finding popularity in this trend, but there's also a lot of adults finding popularity in this trend, which says a lot about this trend in general. Now, the trend that I'm talking about is this Labubu doll. Now, I don't know if you all have seen this Labubu doll, but this Labubu doll is basically a trend that kind of grew out of this, what they're calling the ugly cute aesthetic, which blends unsettling features with charming ones. So I don't know if you all like seen on like TikTok these people making these little dolls that kind of look like a little bit cute, but they got like they're a little ugly, like they got teeth, and it's just weird or whatever. But basically, this is a part of that trend. And so the Labubu doll is a doll that is inspired by Nordic elves and European fairy tales and are designed as mischievous but kind creatures. Now, a lot of people, this is where the conspiracy is. A lot of people are basically saying that this doll is demonic. They're linking this to an ancient Mesopotamian demon called Pazuzu. Now, the reason why people think that it's linked to this ancient demon is because of a clip that played out on The Simpsons. Now, I'm going to play y'all a short clip while I'm telling you about it. But in short, on this episode of The Simpsons, there was a statue or a figure that closely resembles Pazuzu that was unearthed. Homer went to go order pizza, but instead he ordered Pazuzu. And so when he ordered Pazuzu, Pazuzu came to his door and basically Pazuzu possessed him. But then once Pazuzu got a glimpse of Maggie, possessed Maggie, and then as you can guess, all hell breaks loose on the episode. And so which basically makes a lot of people think that The Simpsons predicted this as they normally do, because we see a lot of situations where The Simpsons kind of, foreshadow some things that actually have happened in real life. They're basically thinking that, okay, it got to be some truth to this, because now there's a lot of people on TikTok that are making claims that their Labubu doll is possessed. There's a video going around of a little girl who runs to her mother scared. Now I'm going to try to find that video for y'all as well. Take a look. But she runs to her mother scared and tells her that her Labubu doll, the eye color changed and also the smile got larger. Then there's a second video of a woman who found a Labubu doll in a thrift store. She got the doll and apparently bad things started happening immediately. She got into a car accident, I want to say later that day or the day after she actually got the Labubu doll. So which leaves a lot of people a little scared and wondering, are Labubus demonic in nature? And a lot of people are burning their dolls because they're out of fear that, their doll could be possessed. Now, the thing about this doll is, like I said, it has a demonic origin, right? So this doll was created by a man, a Hong Kong artist named Kasing Lung. Basically he created this character from a monster series that he created. So it's based off of like folklore and things of that nature. And it was produced by a company named PopSmart or PopMart. So when you dig deep into the artist's history and what inspired him to create this doll, a lot of it, which like I said, it comes from Nordic background, but also European folklore and things of that nature. A lot of his influences were dark in nature. So can we say that the dolls as a whole are possessed? I don't think so. However, what I can say from a spiritual perspective, because we have this conversation often when it comes to music and how music affects, it depends on the intent of the person who created it as to what type of pathways and doors to the supernatural that it opens. So I believe that because these dolls are made with the intention and the spirit of mischief, that if you believe in it enough, it will invite an entity into your home. Because I will say, there are dolls that, like, a lot of spirits do get trapped in dolls. We've heard about Robert, we've heard about Annabelle. And listen, story time, okay? Listen, one thing you may or may not know about your sis is I am afraid of dolls, okay? And I'm not even lying to y'all. It's not every doll, but it's them dolls that the eyes move that be freaking me out. And like, I got several stories I can share with y'all. Like, I remember my grandmother's best friend. Her name was Miss Helen. I never forget her because I love this woman. Damn, she loved me too. But I hated going to Miss Helen's house because Miss Helen, you know, the old folk, they got the china cabinets and things like that. She had them dolls that the eye moves everywhere in her house. So now every time I move, I'm thinking those eyes is moving with me. Now I blame my cousins. I blame y'all. If y'all watching, y'all know who y'all are. I blame y'all because we used to sit down and watch Chucky. They used to turn off all the lights and run and jump out and scare me. So that was number 2. Number 3 came in. Now we got this movie Dolls back in the day where dolls coming to life and killing people. So I just think that there is a trend of spirits being able to inhabit dolls, okay? I believe that if you believe in it enough, it could possess a spirit. You could be inviting something into your home. So do I think in general, when you go to the store and you buy it off the shelf, is it possessed? No. Is it demonic? It has demonic origin. I do believe that if you give it power, it will take on a life of its own. So if you are looking at this Labubu doll as an idol, and you're kind of identifying with the spirit behind it, yes, I believe that that spirit will take form in your life. So just be careful the type of power and the type of attention that you give to those dolls, because your intent may not be to conjure a spirit or have something connected to it, but because if you do idolize it and make it a center of your life and kind of identify with some of the traits, the mischievous traits of what this doll is based on, it could invite spirits into your home. That's all I'm saying. Conspiracy or not, I don't know. Let me know down in the chat. Do any of y'all have the Labubu dolls? Okay. Are your children crazy about the Labubu dolls? Because we already know that when there's a new trend, the kids are normally the first ones that are targeted. So have your kids been talking about these dolls? Have you had any experiences where, you know, you may have felt a little extra anxious or bad things started happening when you invited this thing into your home? Let me know down in the chat. Is it a conspiracy or not? But more on spill the tea topics. Okay. Now, listen, because I had to get that out of the way for y'all. Listen, because y'all know I loves me a good conspiracy. But more on spill the tea topics. Now, chill on me. Chill on me. I'm going to start there. Chill on me. Because y'all know I be a little late to the shindig. And most of the times I'm late to the shindig on purpose, okay? One thing about me is I don't like to ride the wave and go with the trends of what everybody else is doing. So with that being said, there were 2 movies that came out. One back in April, one maybe about a month or so ago, but I'm late on both of them that I finally got a chance to watch over my vacation. Now, the first one is Sinners, okay? Listen, I watched Sinners for the first time. Me and my sister, we both kind of like renounced like horror films a while ago. So we both were kind of like, should we watch it? Do we want to watch it? So we were just like, you know what? We just going to wait until you come down here. We're going to watch it together. And that's what we did. We ordered the movie. Now, I watched this movie like 2 or 3 times as I had this movie rented because I was just like, it was a really good movie. Let's start there. It was a really, really good movie. I will say that because there was so much backlash from the Christian community, people calling it demonic and things of that nature, I think I expected it to be a lot darker than I actually felt like it was. I feel like it definitely had dark elements, but I think there was so many innuendos and so many, things that you may not pay attention to that had meaning. It was so meaningful that I didn't really focus on the dark side of it so much, more so than the what I felt like the underlying message was supposed to be in certain instances. Like I looked at it from a very critical perspective. Now, first things first, let's just start with the fact that y'all know my baby, okay? My baby is Michael B. Jordan. So y'all already know how I was feeling when I turned on the TV and I was like, it's two of them.
God! It's two of them!
It's two of them. Listen, two Michael B. Jordans is too much for me. Okay, almost sent your girl into shock. Listen, because it was too much sexiness on the screen. I didn't know how to deal with two Michael B. Jordans. Now I will say this: he did an amazing job playing two different people because that's not an easy task, right? Like I didn't feel like I was watching Michael B. Jordan twice. I felt like I was watching Stack and Smoke. I felt like I was watching two different people. So I'm gonna go ahead and give him a round of applause for understanding the assignment. Okay, listen, he portrayed two different people who had two different temperaments very well. So there was never a moment where I felt like they were the same person. I almost forgot that Michael B. Jordan wasn't a twin. So that was a lot to be said. But it was a lot of Michael B. Jordan going on, y'all. Okay, listen, y'all know how I feel about it. Michael B. Jordan had a couple little spicy little scenes up in there, and I was like, "Ooh, listen, I want to be her for a second." Listen, I was living through the screen. I'm like, could you imagine? Like, I wouldn't even be able to hold myself together on set. Like, I would be losing my mind if me and Michael B. Jordan was co-stars and I got to get close to him. So that's first things first. Michael B. Jordan did the damn thing. Of course, we can't praise Michael B. Jordan without praising Ryan Coogler because he's the creator. So we can't, praise one without the other because they're calling them the dynamic duo. And at this point, I haven't seen them miss yet. So I'm going to go ahead and say they're definitely the dynamic duo. What I will also say that in the movie, the part that pissed me off the most, and I went through some theories on TikTok, but the part that pissed me off the most was, and this is spoiler alert. Listen, look, at this point, I'm just going to assume that all of y'all saw it because, like I said, it came out in April. We're almost in August. So I'm going to assume y'all all saw it. But just in case you didn't, spoiler alert. The part that pissed me off, because by now y'all should already know the movie was based off of vampires and stuff like that. And a big part of it was them inviting the vampires in. If they didn't invite the vampires in, they couldn't come in. So on the part where like now they realize what's going on and they're all in this, juke joint. And it really pissed me off when that Asian woman, come on in here. Like, girl, didn't give nobody no warning and say pick up a brick, pick up a steak, pick up some garlic or nothing. She just acted off of her emotions and just went fully rogue. Like in my mind, I'm thinking like, of course you can't be rational because it's a movie. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, girl, all you gotta do is wait till the morning time. But like I said, there were several theories. One of the theories that they talked about was how that represents itself in real life, right? They talked about how that's symbolic of how Asian Americans play a part in African American story in this country anyway. They talked about, a little bit about how, Asian Americans kind of had to toe the line and play the field between whites and black people in America in that time. But then it also talked about how at the certain point where her and her husband, before he got turned, basically had a conversation. He said, well, we came to help them with the party. We didn't come to help them with this. And so it's like, everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga. It comes down to we can have businesses in your communities and we can objectify you and, sell our resources and make a come up off of y'all. But when it comes down to standing on the front line with y'all, we don't want nothing to do with it. So a lot of people was talking about that aspect, which I had not thought about. However, it makes sense. Then there was another aspect of it where people were just like, well, yeah, everybody was mad at her for what she did. But if she hadn't done it, the outcome probably would have been worse, which is when she said, well, what are we supposed to do? Just let them run into the city, change everybody, and da 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 da. And I didn't look at it like that at first because, like I said, she really just pissed me off immediately because I'm just like, girl, what are you doing? It really makes sense though when you really think about it. Had they waited it out until the morning, their vampires would have taken over everybody else, so it would have been a pandemic. Like they would have basically rounded up way more numbers, and now where they had a chance initially with what the people that they were up against, they would have had no chance because they would have been outnumbered. So it makes a lot of sense to me. Now, one of the things from my aspect that I really didn't hear much people talk about was, and they probably told the line with it because it is a little controversial, was, when it comes down to how the vampires even infiltrated the juke joint in the first place, was the main character, Stack, which is Michael B, like the red twin, because one of them had red, one of them had blue, the one that was dating the lady who, kind of passed between either being white or black. They sent her outside because she was passing and she was able to kind of like relate to both sides. When they sent her outside and then she came back and, now she invited this dark force into the juke joint. I feel like that was also symbolic as well. Now, a lot of people may not talk about it, but I believe it was symbolic because when we think about American history and we think about the black man's journey in this country, the white woman was always his downfall. So that was just how I looked at it. I was like, of course the white woman has to be the villain. Of course she has to be the one to open the door to destruction. Like, of course she has to, because if we're following, historical events and how things unfold, that's just the natural, phase of progression. And so that was one thing that I feel like a lot of people did not talk about. And then I just think this movie was so well put together because it really got you to a place where by the end of the movie, you're like, wait, is this based off of a real life story? Which caused me to do some research. Now, even though a lot of what actually happened was not based on a true story, there were some real elements. Now, because in the film, if you watched it, Stack and Smoke, their cousin, was a main character as well. He was the one who was playing the music. He was the one that was like pretty much fighting the demons. Like his dad was just like, you're going to bring destruction down and blah, 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 blah. Like he left the church and all these different things, all these different symbolic things. But basically it's based on a true story of a blues legend, Robert Johnson, who basically, like, they said that he made a deal with the devil. And so that was the premise of what this story was built on. Now we get to kind of see this whole process play out throughout the whole movie, because one of the most pivotal scenes that I think that kind of confused me, but I understood it, was, and I know that's an oxymoron. I know that sounds crazy to say it confused me, but I understood it because it seemed like wholeheartedly it didn't fit, but it did though. And that was the scene where they were like really like, cutting it up in the juke joint. And once, what was her name? Annie, or which the woman that Smoke was with, when she gets to talking about how music, kind of conjures up spirits from the past and the present and things of that nature. And so we kind of get to see several different spirits in this juke joint that they don't see with the natural eye, but they're there. And so I think that we get to see this whole analogy of how evil is perpetuated in the music industry even today. And I know y'all know Chloe Bailey, who was Halle Bailey's sister. She actually spoke out about how she experiences some of those same similarities in the music industry today. And so I think that there's a lot to be said. Like, we always say that TV shows and movies put it right in front of your face, but I think this was a really good time for us to really tap in and pay attention. And it also still goes kind of back to the boo boo conversation, is that It's the intention, it's the unseen that we have to worry about. And so that scene just kind of threw me off a little bit just because it kind of seemed out of place. But I totally understood it. And so I think that, the film definitely gets a 10 out of 10 for me. It gets a 10 out of 10 for me. Like theatrically, it gets my standing ovation. I love the technique. I love all the things that they did. I love the symbolism. I just loved everything about the movie. I think it was an amazing movie. I think that, I hope they get any award out there that they could possibly get for that film, because that film definitely was a good film. I love to see it. I love to see the sci-fi aspect of it. I love to see the symbolism. I love to see the history and the realism. I love all of it. And I just think that if you didn't get it, it just went over your head. Watch it again. Watch it again. Now, like I told y'all, speaking of spirits and things of that nature, I want to talk to y'all. Well, matter of fact, no. Before I jump into that, I'm gonna talk to you about the second movie. Now, the second movie that I saw, like I said, I'm late to the shindig. That's okay. I still bought plates. I still bought plates, knives, and forks. But I'm late to the shindig. But I watched Straw, which is the Tyler Perry movie with Taraji. Now, the reason I'm gonna tell y'all something. If I haven't told y'all this, the reason why I go behind the curve is because I hate being influenced by what everybody else is saying about something when it comes out. I want to watch it with fresh eyes and be able to judge it for myself without being influenced by outside forces. So that's why I'm normally late to the shindig when it comes to watching films and stuff like that, because I don't want to be caught up in the hype of what everybody else is saying. I want to feel how I feel about it and assess it through my own eyes, not somebody else's. So I watched the movie Straw with Taraji. Now, first things first, I know y'all know that when this movie came out, there was a big argument, mostly from the Black female community, of outrage towards Tyler Perry because of this reoccurring pattern of they're saying that he is objectifying or taking advantage of the Black woman's struggle in this country, and a lot of Black women are tired of seeing it. They're like, okay, you're a one trick pony, show us in a different light. We get it, we've heard it, we've seen it before, try something new. My thing is this: the movie stressed me the hell out. That's all I'm gonna say. I want to say there was a moment, I want to say about 15 to 20 minutes into the film, where I really had to pause the film, because when I tell y'all that your sis was sitting there like this, stressed, stressed me straight out. Okay. The movie stressed me out because it was so much so fast. Like, immediately my first thought process was, life be lifing, but god damn. Like, she can't catch a daggone break. Like, are people really assholes like this? Like, there's no way. And so it really stressed me out because I just couldn't believe the amount of things that were happening back to back to back. Like, she just could not win. But by the end of the movie, I really had to realize something. I had to realize something, that even though as a Black woman, that's not my particular struggle, there are Black women who are struggling like that in this country. It's just not my story being told. However, I think as a Black woman, I could identify with her struggle, feeling like she has the weight of the world on her shoulders and she has no choice but to figure it out, because if she doesn't, everything falls apart. And so I can absolutely empathize with her and what she was going through, because I am a Black woman and I know how hard that can be at times. But at first I was like, yo, this is hyper dramatic. But y'all know I love me some TP because of the drama. So I was here for all the drama. But I just feel like people, this is my thing. It was such a great movie. Like I said, I think TP, he appeals to his audience. He knows his demographic. He knows that predominantly Black women are the people who support him. And even though we may not want to see this storyline play out in front of our faces because we want to see Black girl joy, it's a story that is being like that should be told because somebody out there really is dealing with this. And so you can't be mad at TP for giving us what we really want for real, for real. Because I was here for it. I was here for it. Like by the end of the movie, I'm crying. You can feel however it is that you want to feel about Tyler Perry's decision to use this as subject matter for his film. But realistically, he told a story that really is the black woman's experience in this country. A lot of the times, the black woman's story is a traumatic story. She goes through a lot. And so at the end of the day, that's what we're seeing. When you really think about, okay, the black woman's chances of being married in this country. I'm not going to give you statistics because I don't have them. However, I know the number is low. Most black women will never be married in this country. Most black women are single mothers. Most black women do work several jobs to make ends meet because they don't have a man in a home. So there's a lot of black woman trauma that is going on in this country. Now, what does that even look like? And I'm asking y'all, let me know down in the chat. If we did tell a story about a black woman's joy, what does that look like? Let me know down in the chat. What is your idea of what that looks like? If you had an issue with how Tyler Perry portrayed a black woman in this film, let me know down in the chat what is your idea of what he should do going forward. I just want to know. And I'm not even trying to argue with y'all or nothing. I really just want a food for thought. Because as a black woman, when I really think about the things that make me happy in life, there's not outside of the things that like outside of God and my relationship with God and certain things, like what does that look like? Because wholeheartedly, I am a single female right now. So joy does not look like a relationship to me. Joy does not look like a marriage or things of that nature. Now, provided I don't have children, so I'm not struggling when it comes to that regard, but there are a lot of women that are. So let me know down in the chat, what does that look like to you? Now, spoiler alert, like I said, when it comes to Sinners, this movie was such a great movie because, like I said, I cried at the end. And by the time I got to the end and they did that little flashbacks, that little flash situation to make us think that something happened that didn't happen, I was very upset because I'm just like, ain't no way they gonna let this woman go through all this trauma, all this situation, and then end up getting killed at the end. That was about to piss me off. I promise you, if it was nothing else in that movie that would have pissed me off, it would have been that. However, that didn't happen. Now, what I was happy to see happen was the fact that they broke it down and really let us know what actually was going on in reality. And so the most interesting part of this film for me that I think a lot of people missed is mental health and why it matters. Mental health matters because this woman literally had a traumatic situation on top of a lot of other trauma that was going on in her life happen, and pretty much she had a psychotic break. Everything that happened, she couldn't control because literally she had dissociated from it. So in her mind, none of it really happened. And so it was just interesting because like they kind of gave us little glimpses along the way, like when she went to go drop the little girl off. And I was wondering, like, why did the woman look at her like that? But it was small gems along the way to kind of let us know that something was going on. But when you really think about how sad that really is to lose your child, and how would you even deal with that if you were in that scenario? You probably would have a breakdown as well. And it was just crazy to me to see how everything played out for real after we had saw what we thought happened. And it made you even empathize with the character even more because it was like, oh my God, like any one of us could snap. Any one of us could crash out and react to life in the same exact way. So it really made me empathize. I love the fact that they kind of had this hero complex where they allowed the people in the film to support her and empathize with her struggle and kind of see where she was coming from. Because realistically, That was all she was looking for, was some understanding. She wanted to be seen. She wanted somebody to understand how hard life was lifing for her, and somebody to actually be in her corner. And I feel like as Black women, it don't matter whether you can identify with the storyline or not, whether you got kids, whether you work in 3 jobs, whether you can't pay your rent, any of that. It don't matter. As a Black woman, a lot of the times we feel alone. We feel like everything is on our shoulders. So as a Black woman, I don't care who you are, I know you can identify with that. So those are my thoughts on this film. I thought it was an amazing movie. I think Taraji, I mean, she never ceases to amaze me with her capability of bringing a character through on the screen. Oh my God. By far, I think this was the best role she ever played. She played the hell out of this role. So listen, hand claps to Taraji for knocking this one out the park. She knocked this thing out the park. She did what she understood the assignment. Now, speaking of mental health, listen, I'm going to relate it to real life because, like I said, this is a story that happens far too often in this country. People are really dealing with some real things. Like I said, mental health matters. Now, I came across this story, man, I want to say it was last year. Wait, no, this had, maybe, I don't know. Either way, I think I caught wind of it after, like a nice little while after it actually had happened. But I never spoke about it on the podcast, but it was a story that when I saw it, it really did affect me. Because I was just like, wow. Going back to, like I said, mental health matters. Ever since COVID, I think that we got to see a lot of people kind of snap out and crash out, and we really got to see like the things that people aren't dealing with come to the forefront in so many different ways. Like, people are really losing their minds every day. Now, this story that I'm talking about actually happened in Baltimore, my hometown, where my family is from, right in my backyard. So I think that's why it came across my timeline. And I think that's also why it affected me so much when I heard it. Now, this is a story of a young woman. Her name is Nicole Michelle Williams, age 33. Now, this woman, she was taking care of her sister's children in 2019 when their mother moved to Ohio. So she basically left her children with their aunt to make sure that, she can go out there and do what she needed to do so she can get set up. Now, the story goes like this. Jocelyn, which is the niece, age 7, and the nephew named Larry, age 5, ended up going to stay with their aunt. And like I said, in 2019, apparently the aunt had fell on hard times. According to many sources, the aunt was, staying in and out of hotel rooms. She wasn't stable. And so when she had these children, they were pretty much moving around hotel to hotel room with her. Now, as it goes, the niece, like I said, who was named Jocelyn, her age was age 7, and her brother Larry, who was age 5, they were staying with their aunt. Apparently, there was an unfortunate situation where Jocelyn apparently was going to steal something from her aunt, because we got to think about the situation. The aunt was actually neglecting these children as they were in her care. Because she was on hard times, these children were malnourished. When they did and I'm jumping ahead a little bit because I'm sure you can tell where this story is going if you don't know about it already. When they did the autopsy report on these children were respectfully, at age 7 and age 5, were respectfully 18 and 21 pounds, meaning that they were extremely malnourished and they had not eaten or weren't eating well for at least a couple of months. And so what ended up happening was Jocelyn apparently went to steal something from her aunt. The aunt caught her and ended up beating on her, hitting her, and then Jocelyn fell and hit her head and was unalived. Now, when this unaliving happened in May of 2020, Nicole, the aunt, took the little girl, bundled her up into a suitcase, and put her in the back of the car and continued to proceed with life as if nothing had happened. Now, like I said, her brother was still in the care of the aunt as well. And so I just want to paint this picture to you, because this ends up, the end of this is that Nicole gets caught during a routine traffic stop And that's how they discovered that these children were unalived in her care. Now, I want to paint a picture for you. The niece passed away in May of 2020. Nicole didn't get pulled over until July of 2021. Now, the nephew, Larry, also was unalived in the process of being in his aunt's care. And according to the aunt, because he was so malnourished, it was just one day where he said he was just so tired, he laid down and passed away in his sleep. She put him in a plastic container and put him in the trunk as well. This happened in May of 2021. And again, she was not pulled over until July of 2021. So this happened 2 months before she was actually pulled over. Now, the reason why she was actually pulled over is because the police officers identified that her car was uninsured, unregistered, and had fake plates. So they pulled her over with the intention of actually towing the car. Now, what ended up happening was when they pulled her over, she said, well, can I get my belongings out of the trunk? She went to go get the belongings, which were her unalived niece and nephew, out of the trunk, and the officers immediately smelled the decomposition of a body, a decaying body. Now, anybody who has ever been around a decaying body, you know that is a smell that you will never forget. It's very distinct, and so they picked it out. Once they smelled this smell, they asked her, "What is this?" And to their surprise, because they saw a bag that had maggots and things of that nature, she goes to pull out a comforter, and they unveil this sinister sight of seeing her niece and nephew unalived in these bags. And the officers were greatly impacted by just seeing this sight. Apparently, once they uncovered what was going on, she tried to run, but she was later captured. And it just hurts my heart to really think about how this happened. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking well, where was the mother all of this time, right? Because, the aunt took custody of these children in 2019. It wasn't until 2021 that when this traffic stop happened is actually when the mother was alerted that her children were unalive. Now, at first I was like, okay, well, how many years have to go by before you just pull up? And when I really thought about this from a thoughtful standpoint, the mother actually tried to get in touch with the aunt several times and set up arrangements for her to come see the children and come pick up the children. And each time the aunt would make them an excuse like, oh, they're asleep or whatever the case may be. And she would miss the meetings that they had set up for her to exchange the children. And so at first I was like, okay, well, why didn't you just pull up on the aunt randomly and just go get your kids? Well, when I really thought about this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, the aunt was in and out of hotel rooms. She didn't have a stable place to stay. So wholeheartedly, the mother maybe didn't know exactly where to go. And so I guess she was at the mercy of the aunt at that point, at the aunt of saying, okay, well, I'll get the children whenever we can figure it out. And it just breaks my heart, to know that this mother thought her children were okay all of that time, to find out that they were brutally unalived in this way. And they were just tossed in a trunk without any care in the world. And so it really bothers me. But the thing that also bothers me a lot with this situation is I feel like did the mother know that her sister was unstable? Was that really her best choice when it came down to options to leave her children with? And I don't want to victim blame because it's not her fault, but it's just things that are going through my mind because there was also a situation before these children were even in the aunt's custody where she was taking care of somebody else's children in a hotel room. And apparently they came there because somebody had called the police on her. And when they got into the room, they discovered that she was in there bagging up marijuana and different things of that nature. And so they declared it an unsafe environment for the children that she had at that point, and they called CPS and got them involved. No charges were filed at that point. But it shows a pattern that this aunt has when it comes down to endangerment of children. And so it really just makes me think, like, when the mother left these children with their aunt, was she even capable of taking care of these children? Like, what is the situation? But the reason why I want to tell this story is because we, like I said, we talked about the movie Straw, and a lot of women are like, oh, surely this doesn't happen. But realistically, this woman snapped in a very similar way that Janiyah did in the film. She snapped. Wholeheartedly, she disassociated from what was going on. Now, the thing that I think kind of also took me by surprise, because I didn't hear this until I did my research, but when the police pulled her over, the statement that she said to them that alluded to what was going to happen makes you think, like, did she have intent? The statement she said to them was, it don't matter. I won't be here in 5 days. Y'all going to see me on the news. Y'all going to see on the news making my big debut. And so it's like, was this an accident? Did she really snap? Or did she have intent? Was this something that was playing out in her mind? Was this something that was always in her? I don't know. But the whole situation is very, very sad to me. It's very, very sad to me, because I can't believe that somebody really thought it was okay to ride around with these children in the trunk and not alert anyone of what had happened. It was almost like, if you watch anything as far as like serial killer documentaries or anything like that, a lot of them keep things as trophies, and it's almost like, were you proud of what you did? Is that why you left them in the trunk for so long? But it's a very sinister story. The reason why I wanted to bring it up at this time was because she actually was recently sentenced, and they sentenced her to 50 years in jail. They charged her with 2 counts of first-degree felony child abuse, first-degree felony child abuse resulting in death, misdemeanor neglect of a minor, misdemeanor failure to report death of a child, and unauthorized burial of a body. And if she ever were to see the light of day, she would have to go under psychological evaluation, and she would also have to be under probation. But hopefully this woman never sees the light of day, because this is sickening. Very sickening. And like I said, when I first heard this story, I just could not believe that something like this happened so close to home. And so I'm just going to leave you all with this. Check on your strong friends of any nationality, not just Black women, because I'm sure there are other people who are going through similar struggles mentally. Check on your strong friend. Check on your friends that are struggling with, life in general, that feel like life is just beating them down and they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Lend a hand. Don't be so consumed with what you have going on in your life that you can't step up and be there for somebody else. Be somebody's light on their journey. All it takes is one person to be nice and show up and show support to change the trajectory of somebody's entire life. So thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Sister Talk podcast. I'm your host, Gold Chain Diva, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope you take away, some type of food for thought from this episode. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can always follow me at goldchain__diva. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week on the next episode of the Sister Talk podcast. Enjoy your night.